Alright, welcome everybody to another late night stream of mine, and it is U-Boat again. So, this is a Second World War submarine simulation where you slip into the role of a German submarine commander. So this game gives you the opportunity to move completely free in an open world. You have non-scripted missions, a really alive surrounding, a really alive world, which you live in, and you can go just anywhere actually. So you have a wonderfully detailed and crafted map of actually the whole world, and even since the update we could even go to the Indian Ocean and even to Indochina, to the Philippines, and even further into the Pacific if you like to. We actually are in the Mediterranean at the moment, so we went through quite some career. I'm doing this stream since something like a year in real life, and in-game I started at the very beginning of the Second World War, at the eve of Hitler's raid on Poland in September 39. And if you see, look at the top left corner of the screen now, it's early October 43, which means that we are now a bit more than 4 years into the war. And I did stream any mission, did share every mission with you on Twitch, and since a while I am afterwards uploading these streams also to YouTube. So first, a big thanks to all of you guys, my faithful community on Twitch. I enjoy all these little chats that we have so much in parallel to the gameplay. A lot of talk about the game and about just any topic. And at the same time, thanks to you guys on YouTube. There is already quite a few guys following me there as well. Although I'm just doing the bare upload, there is no cutting or something. I just don't have the time to do the cutting. So it's also just the raw stream from the very beginning till the end, so you can follow our adventures also on YouTube afterwards, after the stream. Alright guys, so if we look at our recent situation, we are taking part in this campaign, Battle of the Mediterranean, and you see we have already reached more than 50,000 tons, which means we have reached the first stage of this campaign and now are just about to do our first mission in the second stage. And my aim actually is to finally get that boat upgrade point, so that within my long-term campaign I could actually and organically slip into the Type 9, upgrade my ship, upgrade my boat, and get the Type 9. And this is really one of the great things that the developers did. Of course, there were a few bugs and they are working on that, but the big plus, the big pro of the update is that it is still compatible to old saves, which means that I can actually continue my beloved long-term campaign. Okay, that was a little bit of an intro talk. So here we are at 6 o'clock, 20 past 6 in the morning, and we are on the way towards our patrol area. And neglected the chat briefly, so Holiday Punch, welcome in the chat. Good evening, I hope you are fine. Around here it's a few minutes past midnight, and if I remember right, you are in almost the same time zone. Guess we have 1 hour difference probably, but I'm never quite sure about that. Whether we have that hour of difference or not. "1943, yeah, that's the beginning of the end, yep. And I never went that far in the game. I played the game since it came out. And back then I was fascinated, but then dropped it for, say, a few years and didn't play it because it was still a bit coarse. And then already a few years, something like 2 years ago, maybe almost 3, I recognized that the developers were really, really working on it. And it, even before the official launch, it already had turned into a very decent game. Yeah, maybe a little bit late to help the Germans, to help the Italians in Africa, particularly as now, 1 or 2 months ago, the Italians actually stepped out of the war. Okay, I had a bit of a weird echo. Yeah, Mussolini actually did leave the Axis, and so the Germans occupied Italy. Ah, yeah, okay, I wasn't sure actually. Yeah, thanks for the remark, Holiday Punch. I kind of had in the back of my mind that you were from England, but it's Sweden. Yeah, okay. So no time difference actually, yeah, at all. Now, what's the background? I am actually playing with almost maximum difficulty level, and I'm playing with one mod, and even after the update I dared to keep this one mod installed. It's Deep Leaks, the Deep Leaks mod. Before the update I was also playing with the Device Energy Management mod. I love both of these mods, they are great, but the Device Energy Management mod I didn't dare to install after the update, because as up to now it looks like nobody did an update onto this mod. It's kind of too complex that it would, I think it would interfere with the updated files. Okay, that's how it actually worked with him. I actually wasn't aware what became of Mr. Mussolini, Benito Mussolini. So speaking of the Deep Leaks mod, the Deep Leaks mod actually makes this difference that as soon as you are underneath 160 meters, there might occur some leaks, like some pipes blow away or a gasket giving way, and so you could actually burn in the boat. And let's do exactly that now. Let's do some deep dive test and see what the boat can do after we came out of port and after maintenance. So we have a depth of 200 to 300 meters here. Let's go down. Let's go to the maximum safe depth. Okay, all the off-watch guys running to the front compartment. Mr. Arles opening the valves, depth charges being manned, and here we are with the ballast tanks being flooded. Down we go. So let's give me a ping, Vitali.
25 Meter. Schraubengeräusch. Peilung 155 Grad.
Melden Sie mir die aktuelle Tiefenmessung.
Ah, we already have propellers on the hydrophone. Okay, that's most probably fishermen. I think we can ignore them for now.
65 Meter.
Yeah, good question. Don't know what would have been worse, serving on the Eastern Front or being a U-boat crewman. Yep.
Aktuelle Tiefe 80 Meter.
Yeah, my grandfather was serving on the Eastern Front, but like he put it himself, he was lucky to step onto a landmine, and lose the lower part of his leg. But that actually brought him out of that and back home. I'm not quite sure about the timeline, but it must have been something like a year before the war ended, at least, that he got that injury. Yes. Yep, that really does something. And, well, my grandfather was not a big storyteller, but I remember that he once said exactly that, that one of the first thoughts that he can remember that he had after stepping on the mine was, oh, so this is gonna bring me out of that shit.
140 Meter.
Yeah, pretty sure that all these contacts are most probably tiny fishermen along the coast.
150 Meter.
We do have a bit of water in the bilge, which is perfectly ordinary. So, let's get one echo sounder reading.
Unter Kiel 7. 4 Meter.
Tauchen auf 170 Meter.
Meter.
There we start to get these sounds.
Meter.
This is already the deep leaks mod kicking in if you listen to these sounds. I think you can hear that in the stream, can't you?
Melden Sie mir die aktuelle Tiefenmessung.
175 Meter.
Tiefe unter Kiel 5. 1 Meter.
So still 50 meters. Oh, we have a leak. Mr. Schneider going for it. It's not too bad. Okay, just a small leak, and we are not that deep yet. But water coming in. So I'm curious if Mr. Schneider is going to use some spare parts on it or not. That differs. Sometimes they can repair these damages without spare parts, and sometimes they have to use some spare parts.
Wassereinbruch in der Zentrale gestoppt.
Alright, okay, obviously no use of spare parts. We do have a bit of water, we could turn on the pump.
Lenz, Pumpe einschalten.
Will still make sense down here. We have an efficiency of what? Still 33% of efficiency. Well, far away from 100% because the outside pressure is so much pushing against.
155 Grad.
It's all these contacts that we know. Let's get deeper.
Tauchen auf 190 Meter. Melden Sie mir die aktuelle Tiefenmessung.
Tiefe unter Kiel 4. 7 Meter.
Aktuelle Tiefe 180 Meter.
So we wouldn't be able to go that deep around here.
Meter.
185 meters.
Meter.
Melden Sie mir die aktuelle
Echo
Tiefenmessung.
sounder.
Tiefe unter Kiel 30 Meter.
Still 30 meters to go. Let's go for
Tauchen
200.
auf 200 Meter.
Yeah, the hull is creaking and creaking.
195 Meter.
Yeah, I like that. In the vanilla game, it's just like you dive and dive, and at some depth, like 280 or something, just suddenly the whole hull gets crushed. And with the deep leaks mod,
200 Meter.
with the deep leaks mod, you have this effect that you do get damages and little leaks already earlier because some parts are given away, a pipe blown away, a gasket becoming untied.
Melden Sie mir die aktuelle Tiefenmessung.
Tiefe unter Kiel 17 Meter.
Still have 17
Tauchen auf
meters.
210 Meter.
205 Meter.
It's getting even shallower. Okay.
Alle Maschinen stopp.
So let's see if
210 Meter.
we can put the boat actually on the seabed. So right now
Melden Sie mir die aktuelle Tiefenmessung.
Tiefe unter Kiel
6
Meter.
meters.
Tauchen auf 215 Meter.
...215 Meter.
Melden Sie mir die aktuelle Tiefenmessung.
Tiefe unter Kiel 3 Meter.
Tauchen auf 220 Meter.
Aktuelle Tiefe 220 Meter.
Oh. Another leak again.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Verstanden. Betrachten Sie es als erledigt, Herr Kaloi. 225
Oh
Meter.
yeah, several leaks actually. One in the central and one in the stern torpedo room.
Meter. Aktuelle Tiefe 205 Meter.
They are working on it.
Wassereinbruch in der Zentrale gestoppt.
Okay, but we do have a bit of water now in the central. Let's turn on the pump.
215 Meter.
Although the efficiency on the pump is only
Lenzpumpe
15% down here. We still didn't hit the ground, do you? Did we?
Wassereinbruch im E-Maschinenraum gestoppt. Aktuelle Tiefe 230 Meter. Herr Kapitän?
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin?
Jawohl.
Ja? Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Verstanden, Kommandant. 235 Meter.
Alarm beenden.
So what does it look like in first
Aktuelle
person?
Tiefe 240 Meter.
Yeah, that looks eerie in the first person view to see that you really have that water here on the floor. Pump is running and the crew is bringing water in buckets from the stern compartment.
235 Meter. ...240 Meter.
Melden Sie mir die aktuelle Tiefenmessung.
Tiefe unter Kiel 2,7 Meter.
We still could go deeper. pump's performance is really down, but we still didn't hit the ground.
Tauchen auf 235 Meter.
230 Meter.
Tauchen auf 235 Meter.
235 Meter. Meter.
So Mr. Schneider is going to work on that.
Meter.
Yeah, the pump is really zero effective, almost zero effective down here.
Meter.
Ja?
Meter.
Wassereinbruch in der Kombüse gestoppt. Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin? Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloin.
Aktuelle Tiefe 240 Meter.
Yeah, all right. Let's get back to the surface. That's
245 Meter.
really
Anblasen. Halbe Fahrt
Deep.
voraus.
So we went down to 240 meters and the boat did take it.
Aktuelle Tiefe 240 Meter.
Ah, okay, interesting. So now we can see what blowing the tanks actually does. We are using a lot of compressed air down here. And we don't get any much water out of the tanks. Ah, yes, but that's so realistic down here. You use up loads and loads of compressed air and
15 Meter.
it's still 90% of water in the ballast tank. So we need to get up dynamically, and blowing the tanks doesn't help much down here.
200 Meter. Aktuelle Tiefe 185 Meter.
Yeah, we should have the possibility to blow the tanks once more.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
170 Meter.
This is, I wouldn't call it a bug, but okay. We're still getting water out.
150 Meter.
But slow. Yeah, so when you're that deep, you should never blow the tanks. Except if it's an emergency, and even then, it doesn't help much.
Aktuelle Tiefe 115 Meter.
And here we are getting back to the surface.
95 Meter. Meter.
Yeah, we have put the water into the ballast tanks, the compressed air into the ballast tank, and it's now expanding. Now that we get to the surface, it is expanding.
35 Meter.
And actually gets the water out. Yeah, that's so realistic. That's real physics behind that.
Aktuelle Tiefe 15 Meter.
And up here it's early morning. The sun has risen while we were doing the dive. Now let's give it a save. New stream, new save. And let's get going to the mission area, to the patrol area. By the way, discipline is 98% and we have a relatively high fatigue level, so I think after this patrol we probably have to send the guys on shore leave. I am indeed giving the crew 4 different types of food at the moment to counter the bad mood due to long time no shore leave.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung. Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Natürlich, Herr Kaloi. Patrouillengebiet erreicht.
Alright, let's report this to the headquarters via radio. So it's 3:30 in the afternoon. Good visibility, fair weather, 13 knots of wind speed.
Kurs auf die Koordinaten setzen.
Yes, let's delete all these markers here from our last mission. And no, the sea is much deeper. Here it's now 750 to 1000 meters depth. So from our point of view, unfathomable depths. Sinking to the sea bottom here would kill us. 100% certain. So let's go for a hydrophone check. This standard procedure where the crew brings the boat down to 50 meters. Here you see Mr. Scholz opening the valves to let the sea stream into the ballast tanks. The crew running to the fore compartment and 2 crewmates manning the depth steers. Yeah, ballast tank, 4, and astern, and down we go. So the crew brings the boat down to 50 meters, stops the engines, and then does 5 minutes of silent listening until it brings the boat back to the surface. Yeah, you always have a bit of water getting into the boat, so there is always a bit of water, some droplets in the bilge. This is nothing to worry about. There we are, 50 meters.
Herr Kapitän?
50 Meter.
Yeah, and down here the hydrophone develops its full strength. On the surface there is a lot of noise and waves and weather and wind and sometimes rain, and all this renders the hydrophone unusable at the surface. But as soon as you go down to something like 50 meters, you are swallowed by the complete silence of the depth, and then the hydrophone gives us an enormous detection range. So could be better, not quite sure why it's only 70 miles, but yeah, still on a radius of 70 miles we are able to detect just any moving propeller, and that's pretty amazing. Yeah, with our equipment it uses to be more even, so I'm not quite sure. I mean, 13 knots of wind speed at the top. On the surface is not too much, but maybe it's the weather and wind. When you do have a decent swell, this reduces the hydrophone range, because the swell gives you some background noise even down here.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
Anblasen.
20 Meter.
So that was the 5 minutes, and there we go back to the surface.
Herr Kaloi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Yeah, right after the update, there was always some unrealistically large swell going. But they have corrected that. If you ask me, now this looks kind of decent. 13 knots is a bit of wind. And so it feels alright, I would say, now. Although I was maybe expecting more, because the developers really made some ado about the waves and said that they found a bug and that they would improve it for the update and that this would considerably improve the experience with the waves. And, well, to be honest, if you ask me, I don't see that much of a difference. But it's fine. It always was and still is. Give it a save. And do some time acceleration.
Navigation besetzen.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum.
Shall we do another hydrophone check?
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, nighttime by now.
Herr Kapitän? Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Meter. Meter.
And again. Yeah, the weather is nice. So now it's 14 knots up there. And we have a contact there. Of course, it's always the possibility. There seem to be a lot of fishermen on the way in the Mediterranean. Single contact. So it's always some relatively high probability that this is just a fisherman. But we will see by the speed. And it's the fishermen usually are not only going with something like 5 or 6 knots.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum. Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Nevertheless, I would finish the 5 minutes of hydrophone check just in case that the guys detect something else. At the moment we do have Mr. Hinrich. At the hydrophone he's our radio man and he's supported by Mr. Keller, one of the crew. A crew hand. Yeah, the captain's also taking a nap, which is perfectly fine. Yeah, just any officer needs his sleep. So here you see this bar, 100% means that the officer is 100% well rested, and if you drop it too far down, he can't do his job anymore and needs to go to bed. So this management is pretty important in the game and also adds a lot of realism to it. So you need to let them do the work in shifts. Yeah, of course, the duty on the submarine is 24/7.
Herr Kapitän?
So, looks like no more contacts.
Anblasen. Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
And there we are, back to the surface. Now, it's the watch of Mr. Schulz, our bosun. He's not a technician, so sorry, Mr. Grade, but I have to wake you up, although it's your off watch. I need you at the engines. Give us flank speed while we chase that contact. It's pretty close. Shall we go for half an hour? Half an hour should bring us there. And if this is an ordinary merchantman, they should be going 8 knots, which means in half an hour they would be something like that. But we don't know the direction yet. We just have that single contact, so it could go in any direction. Only the next hydrophone reading will reveal us, hopefully, which direction they are moving and roughly which course, which speed they are taking. So time is 9:10. One hour. And
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
give me the next hydrophone check, please. Yeah, 9:30 in the evening by now. Discipline is still alright with 97%.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy?
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Aktuelle Tiefe 10 Meter.
Diving.
Meter.
Meter.
Herr Kapitän?
So, Mr. Hinrich, please tell us the contacts.
55 Meter.
Yes, sometimes these contacts may just vanish, but as the game is pretty persistent, this is usually then an indication that maybe another German submarine has taken them. Being relatively slow, my first guess is that this guy is a fisherman. Just go in with something like 4 knots.
Anblasen.
Yeah, let's shorten that.
Kurs setzen.
Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum. Aktuelle Tiefe 45 Meter.
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
Yeah, we could be sure. Let's follow them for 1 more hour and then do a final hydrophone check, but it will probably confirm that this can only be a fisherman.
5 Meter.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
All right. So, 9:45.
Natürlich, Herr Kaloi. Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Jawohl, Herr Kaloi.
10:15. 11:30. And 10:45. And give it 1 more hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
I should be pretty close by now.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5
Auf
Meter.
E-Motoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloi? ...25 Meter. Schraubengeräusch. Peilung 350 Grad. Meter.
Yeah, only 5 knots. 5 miles in 1 hour, it's 5 knots, so
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
they're definitely
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
fishermen. So we can just leave them alone.
Halbe Fahrt voraus. Anblasen.
55 Meter. Aktuelle Tiefe 40 Meter.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
20 Meter.
Auf Dieselmotoren
Yeah,
wechseln.
surfacing
Läufe sind aufgetaucht.
and carrying on
Langsame Fahrt voraus.
with halbe Fahrt cruise speed. And we are back to 100%. Now we are at 96% of discipline. So sooner or later discipline might become a problem. So let's give it another hydrophone check here.
Was Hilfe gebrauchen.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter. Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter. Auf E-Motorenwechsel. ...25 Meter.
Herr Kapitän,
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
So, do we get any contacts, Mr. Hinrich?
45 Meter.
aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter. Meter. Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
Meter.
Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
Anblasen. Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Okay, no contact yet.
Wir sind aufgetaucht.
Lenzgruppe einschalten.
etwas Unterstützung.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Yeah, give me the next hydrophone check, please.
50 Meter.
Okay, nice weather by now. 14 knots of wind speed and yeah, a decent swell.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Meter.
Schraubengeräusch. Peilung 350.
All right, contact.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin?
Ooh, very close actually.
45 Meter.
Jawohl.
Very close.
Aktuelle Tiefe 55 Meter.
Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
Let's see if we get any other contact.
Meter.
Meter.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin?
Might still also just be a fisherman.
Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
Schraubengeräusch. Peilung
Torpedorohr 1
355
gewartet.
Grad.
Not quite clear.
Anblasen.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin?
45 Meter.
So I would say they are moving away
25 Meter.
with a considerable speed.
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet. 5 Meter.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloin, wir sind aufgetaucht.
So let's go after them.
Setzen.
And go for half an hour. And if they are a decent merchantman, they would be going with something like 8 knots. Ah, yes, let's go flank.
Äußerste Kraft voraus.
Herr Kapitän.
Hey, Isley, good evening. How are you doing? So I hope you had a good 1st May.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, let's keep fingers crossed that this contact is not just only a fisherman. Yeah, 4 miles we went, half an hour or so. An average merchantman would go 4 miles.
Herr Kapitän.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Meter. Meter.
Going down. Stopping the engines. And listening. Silently listening down here. Propeller stopped. Just floating at 50 meters and listening.
Meter.
Schraubengeräusch. Peilung 15 Grad.
Oh, wow. They're moving even faster than I thought. In half an hour.
Meter.
Wow. Yeah, nevertheless, now let's finish the hydrophone check, just in case that there are several contacts.
Meter.
Schraubengeräusch. Peilung 15 Grad.
Okay, that's weird. Now we have other contacts there.
Torpedorohr 2 gewartet.
It's a convoy 01.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
That's really a bit surprising. And And it looks like we lost that other contact. Six miles. So we might already see the smoke column when we are back to the surface.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin?
Anblasen.
30 Meter.
Auf Dieselmotoren.
Herr Kaloin, Sie sind aufgetaucht.
Actually, I don't quite trust these contacts. They look a bit weird.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Right now it is 5 minutes to 11 in the morning. If we go for half an hour, or if we go for just 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Don't see anything. Fifteen minutes. No smoke on the water. No smoke columns. Yet. So it looks like that was kind of a ghost signal. Another 5 minutes and we are another half an hour. Let's go down and check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Another hydrophone check. Hey, Volvolu, good evening. It's a pleasure to have you in the stream again. Yeah, it did. So, they've been fixing a lot of stuff, and as for me, I never had too many problems with bugs and no crashes, but yeah, I think you had problems, hadn't you? And a few other guys in the stream as well, with even crashes. And in the last stream, people mentioned that the crashes seem to be under control. If I understood it right.
20 Meter.
They're not occurring anymore, or at least not as frequent. Fishing boat spotted, great.
40 Meter.
Herr Kaloin.
Hi, Kiwi.
50 Meter.
Nice to have you in. Good evening. I hope you had a good 1st May. They actually made it pretty long. So yesterday in the stream I had the first time that I actually did torpedo loading by myself. So I couldn't compare how it was in the days before. But it was quite some long time, which felt somehow realistic. Only thing that I think is not still not realistic is that you could just abort it. So imagine the scenario: you are about loading external torpedoes and then you get an air raid. And I think this is still unrealistically short to abort the loading.
55 Meter.
Yeah, yep. And when I did that, they are still there. Yeah, we had them yesterday at least for the for the mission debriefing. Not in the game, like you see right here down the screen. There is no purple eyes, but in the mission debrief we had it. Okay.
Herr Kaloin.
Okay, this is probably half an hour. Hard to tell. But yeah, let's finally figure out what this contact is.
Herr Kaloin.
Now, back to the surface. I would like to chase down this guy.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Which is pretty close, just as well. We should have a smoke column visible.
Auch Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
But if there is no smoke, then it's most probable only just a fisherman. And there is the fisherman. So I fear that this guy is also a fisherman if I don't see any smoke column on that distance.
Funkraum besetzt.
Funktelegramm gesendet.
There is something. It's also just a fisherman. It's just a tiny fisherman. Dead ahead. There it is. Yep.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
Halbe Fahrt voraus.
Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Endlich ein paar Stunden Pause.
Okay, so there was something in this order. Ah, yeah, okay. Regarding the watch schedule.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum.
Tauchen auf 35 Meter.
And one more hydrophone check before we are gonna turn that way. Well, we could try to sneak into the port of Tunis and sink a few ships there. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna do that.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5
Auf
Meter.
E-Motoren wechseln.
Meter.
Schraubengeräusch. Peilung 240 Grad.
Alright, contact again.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin? Meter.
Okay, hard to tell. It could be one of these, yeah, but no. They were moving just too slow. Don't think that it's these. Let's mark it and track it.
Schraubengeräusch. Peilung 160 Grad.
Single contact. Oh, 3.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin?
But that's them. These guys I'm gonna ignore.
Handelsschiff. Peilung 345 Grad.
That's a fisherman.
Herr Kapitän?
40 Meter.
So, pretty busy place. Single of 4.
Aktuelle
Pretty
Tiefe
busy
35
place. Yeah, right. Voodoo, yeah. Isn't that amazing? I mean, that's virtual reality, is it? Yeah. Actually, nobody could visit me in my hometown. So the River Rhine enters the North Sea here. Goes something like that. So you are not able to sail to that area here. This is where I actually come from. And right now I'm living hard to tell. A little bit more southerly, not too far away. Yeah. My hometown actually is close to, it's between Düsseldorf and Cologne. More close to Düsseldorf actually. And yeah, as you all know by now, I am living in the Frankfurt area, working in Frankfurt. And on a global scale, Frankfurt is not that far away from Cologne and Düsseldorf.
Herr Kaloin?
Yeah, so you are actually living at the sea. I never had that comfort. But on the other hand, I did live close to the mountains for quite a while, which was also pretty much enjoyable for hiking and skiing. Let's give it a save here. Maybe A new save. W417. Just to be safe. Wow, 5 minutes away from the beach here. And 10 minutes from the port. So that means you are living pretty close to downtown Tunis then. Aren't you? I mean, like, if I would say I'm living in Frankfurt or in the Frankfurt area, it's a bit of a lie because, well, I mean, if you zoom in, it's 50 kilometers from Frankfurt where I live. And yeah, the next larger town is Mainz, but I don't think that Mainz is particularly well known internationally. Yeah, you mentioned that, Carthage, yeah. I kept that in mind because I was pretty fascinated that there is still parts of the town which are called like that.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
So your people were actually the guys who challenged Rome. And actually the guys who had it in their hand to stop the rise of Rome. And alter history completely. Yeah, yep. So distance to that. Still pretty far away. Let's go for that contact. And again, let's do that estimate. If that contact was an ordinary merchant, he would move 8 knots. And what about us? Now we are going to flag speed. Doing 16 knots. Yeah, I find it quite interesting to do that Gedanken experiment and think about what would have happened if the Romans would have been stopped by the Celts even earlier. So the Celts actually were in the situation to sack Rome. Don't quite remember the date, but I think it was even earlier than when Hannibal arrived at the gates of Rome. Hannibal entered Portus, and both the Celts and Hannibal, they didn't completely destroy the city, so they showed mercy and let the town live, just getting some gold, showing the mercy that the Romans later did not always show. So if Rome would have been destroyed back then, I think it would have had quite some impact because no, not the Gauls and the Romans, which was something like 50 before Christ, I mean much earlier, there was this Celtic chieftain called Brennus. And when Rome still was pretty small, just a city, and they didn't have that empire yet back in that day. And back then, the Celts, they actually went to Rome and they were about to conquer it, and yeah, also let it live. Got some gold and went on their way. It was way earlier. Could have been something like 200 years earlier, right? I'm not that good in history. 100 years, yep. Hey, Colin. Nice to have you in. How are you doing? I hope you had a good day. So in Germany, actually, the 1st of May is a day off. It's a national holiday. Don't know how it is about you. Yeah, well, the Romans never really gained control of the north of the British Isles, right? And I understand that they took some beating in the north. And that's why they did put up that wall, the Hadrian's Wall, if I remember right to my basic history knowledge. The Hadrian's Wall stretching from west to east in the north of England, roughly. Yep, yep. What do you mean by on the edge joke? So, I mean, we discussed that with our children, so our son actually asked, so, hey, why do they call it Labor Day and then it's a day off? So if it's Labor Day, go for work. Yeah. And by the way, let me mention at that point, let me mention that Julius Caesar took a beating, or at least the legions of Julius Caesar took a heavy beating not too far away from my hometown. And these tribes who actually beat him up, they were settling around that area. He called them Belgae. Like, yeah, Islay. So, I mean, if this this book of Julius Caesar about his war with the Gauls, it actually starts with stating that the Belgae, the Belgian tribes, are the most, how do you call it? In German, it's tapfer. So he was really afraid of the Belgians. But if you look at the map, I once tried to figure out where all these things took place. So he was mixing up things a bit. So this area between where I come from, which is pretty close to Belgium and the Netherlands. That was some area where these guys actually lived. Yeah, it was something like the first sentence of that book of Julius Caesar was something like he says that the Gaul tribes are actually divided into three parts, where there is the Celts, the yeah, those guys who live in Switzerland nowadays, and the Belgae, like he said, and pointing out that the Belgae are, well, the most to be feared guys on the battlefield. Yeah. So anybody of you familiar? Ah, okay. Yeah, Colin. The Romans are not the only invaders who found the highlands to be a bit inhospitable. Yes, yeah. Same for the English, right? Same for the Sassenachs. So sorry, guys, if there is any English people in the stream. And the Vikings, yeah, you're right, yeah. Good old Edward, yeah. Yeah, this topic always reminds me of that movie Braveheart. I loved it back then.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Jawohl, Herr Kaloy.
Funkraum besetzen.
The Scottish Midge, yep. Yeah, I remember when I was hiking in the highlands, sitting in front of our tent in the morning and having some homogeneous gray layer on our breakfast, on our morning porridge, which were the midges. But yeah, in total, I always was pretty lucky with the weather when I was hiking in the highlands. It was not too bad. I mean, neither the midges nor the weather.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
Oh, come on, fingers crossed that it's not just another fisherman. Wow, it's pretty shallow around here, 50 to 100 meters. But nevertheless, let's give it another hydrophone check.
35 Meter.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Diese besetzen. Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter. Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Wow, nice. So was she kind of a professional artist, or was she, well, doing it as kind of a hobby aficionado?
Aktuelle Tiefe 35 Meter.
Schraubengeräusch. Peilung 395 Grad.
Yeah, but still pretty slow. Might still indicate that these guys are only fishermen.
40 Meter.
Going something like 6 knots in 1 hour, 6 miles in 1 hour. Yeah, we will see. Not quite clear. We have to get closer. Maybe we need another
35 Meter.
data point. Yes, the mighty Scottish midge. Yeah. Actually, I mean, do you think that midge is a Scottish term? Is it Scots or something? Because I had quite some discussions later on with people who told me that midge is not a proper word in the English language or something like that. People said it's mosquito or something, so I was always using the term midge. And lately I was meeting quite a few people who just said never heard that word. And I was actually thinking that it's just an ordinary term in English. Oh, nice, nice, yeah. So what were her subjects? Did she actually do music as subject, or?
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
My fear is that this is just another fisherman, but we will see.
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
Anblasen.
Aktuelle Tiefe 15 Meter.
Kurs setzen.
So if we go flank speed for another half an hour,
Motoren wechseln.
bring us there. Maybe we are lucky. Maybe this is not just a fisherman, but pretty unclear still. English, yeah, okay. Oh God. Mrs. Thatcher, yeah. So now 6:20. Let's go for half an hour. Like that. Ooh, there is smoke on the horizon. That's good, because if there is smoke on the horizon, it's probably not just a fisherman. Yeah. Nice. I'm so sorry, Isley. I was using my Mega periscope again, but I stopped it. Yeah. Not to get any remark on that. Yeah, let's do one more hydrophone check to get another data point for the extrapolation of their course. Looks like it's a relatively slow moving merchantman.
Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter. E-Motoren wechseln. Meter. 35 Meter.
Schraubengeräusch. Peilung 0 Grad.
Meter.
Hey guys, nice. So I had a bit of a misreading of the number of watches here. But it looks like that there is
35
quite a few people watching. Welcome, guys, whoever you are, wherever you are from. It's a pleasure to have you. Nice. So I just see the number of watches in total, and of course who is participating in the stream. And so of course I highly appreciate if you would just give me some comment in the stream. Tell me where you're from, or tell me what you think about the game, about this stream. Do you play the game by yourself? Are you just watching? Are you experienced or not? But yeah, don't feel pushed. I'm perfectly happy if you just silently watch. Like, if I look here, having 11 views, that's quite a lot for me. I'm just a small, tiny aficionado streamer, and yeah. So glad to have you in. And of course, particularly glad to have you in, Colin and Vulvulu and Isley and Kiwi if you're still there, and I don't know if you are still there, Holiday Punch. Yeah, maybe you're just lurking. Which is fine, as I said. Yeah, the weird thing is that the Streamlabs desktop software that I have, it says that 6 viewers are watching the stream, and the stream manager of Twitch actually says it's 10 at the moment. It was even 11. So I'm sure that the Twitch stream manager is right.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloi?
Okay, so the position is pretty close to my extrapolation. Not quite, but almost. So I think do think we have a decent merchant here, and not just
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
a fisherman.
Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum.
Yeah, interesting. I can't really judge it here from Germany, but in Germany we have similar discussions, so it's always a bit let me call it interesting when politics start to interfere with teaching, and there were things when the politicians thought that you should change everything from the scratch, and it was never much of a good idea, I would say. But personal opinion.
Meter.
Yeah, that's bad. That's really bad.
Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloi, wir sind aufgeteilt.
and a pity. I mean, if she had 30 years of enjoying her job, it's fine. And so I hope that she was able to kind of keep some positive thinking when looking back. Because I think that is pretty important when you quit your job and retire. I think it's pretty important that you look back in a positive way and say, okay, most of it was good. There were bad parts, and maybe even at the end things might have become even worse, but most of it was all right. And if you could lean back and say that, then retirement is pretty good and all right. Yeah, but I imagine that it would be pretty bad if you kind of retire and then you're just angry and say everything was bullshit and things like that. So retirement is probably pretty much of a cut into your life, and this interface from employment to retirement is, I could imagine that it's pretty hard to handle, and it's easier to handle if you look back and say, I did a good job all of my life. I still have something like 15 years or something. So now again I was given away information about my age, which I usually want to keep secret. So now, us going for 1 hour, 16 miles, and them, they are going with the classical 8 miles, I think. So if we go like that, we end up maybe a bit too close.
Kurs setzen.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloy.
Time of the day, 7 o'clock in the evening. So it's night time, so they wouldn't spot us. Nice. That's nice, Colin. I mean, if you just don't retire, but if you have kind of hobbies and things that you like to do, something like that you say here. Beautiful. That sounds like she was pretty happy in her retirement. And that's good. I could imagine that a lot of people actually do have a problem with getting retired. Good discussion point, isn't it? Like we had the Labor Day today. So now 7:05. Let's go for 1 hour. And then do the next hydrophone check. Now, Captain, I need you on the bridge with the binoculars to get an estimate of the distance. Maybe we could even get some idea already what type of ship we have there. Oh yeah. Dementia, yep. That's something. My uncle had it as well. He died something like half a year ago. Okay, so any guesses? My first guess would be that it is a Liberty class. So on the first side it looks like there is 2 masts, a fore and one astern.
Handelsschiff in Sicht. Peilung 25 Grad. Auf Gefechtsstationen. Anlauf beginnt.
25 degrees. So. Still okay. So we are closer than my dead reckoning would have thought. Let's get some distance in between. Don't want to get too close. And guys, you can step away from battle station. We don't need you yet. Not yet.
Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
There it is. So let's see. It's not this one. It's this one. Yeah, it's definitely a Liberty, yeah. Pretty sure. Problem is that the Liberty is pretty well armed. So approaching it on the surface might be a bad idea. Velocity is obviously something like 8 knots, maybe less, maybe more 7. And we do have them at 80 degrees at the moment. So their angle on bow on us would be something like 127 degrees. And yeah, the distance would be guesswork.
Aktualisieren.
Something like 6 or 7 miles. Yeah, possible. So, guys, allow me to be AFK just for 1 minute. Back again. Thanks for your patience. I can't approach it on the surface, can I? They would start firing at us with their deck guns, pretty sure. Okay, target is too far. Can't. Okay. It's at 110 degrees.
Kurs setzen.
So estimated position would be there.
Kurs setzen.
Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum.
7 miles. Hey, Colin. Yeah, nice. And this she did after her retirement, if I understand it right. Yep. Nice. I'm a bit surprised that we can't get connected to that target. But right now it's 90 degrees, which is alright. And pretty much confirms my figures. And from now on, if they are moving with 8 knots, like that, and I am moving with 60 knots, so that would finally bring me into a position to bear down on them and intercept their course. Let's go for 1 hour. It's 10 past 8. Let's go for 10 past 9. $130. Let's see if this is still consistent. After half an hour, yeah, well, roughly. Yeah, so Colin, may I ask how old she actually got? Sounds like she really accomplished a lot of things still after retirement. Yeah, my father actually died with 67 or 68. Pretty young. By a stroke. And well, he was happy with his job all his life, and with 65 his company forced him into retirement, which he didn't want to. And so he became an entrepreneur. So it is kind of consulting thing. He was an engineer, and so he was pretty happy and pretty relaxed about earning some additional money after his retirement with this job. And so it was, so much of what shall I say, just 2 or 3 years after his retirement he died. $32, yeah, right. So it's, let me calculate. I'm not very good in doing calculations without a piece of paper. It would be 68. $78, $81. So yeah, that's all right. I mean, 80 is some decent age. That's a decent age. $145. Yeah, okay, that's pretty unprecise, but makes sense. So at that point, looks like they are there. And now it would be pretty straightforward to bear down.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Bestätige.
So after 1 hour, they would be there. Half an hour would bring us there and them there with a distance of 6 miles. So I think that's perfectly fine.
Auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Yeah, nice. That's good if you can do that.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloy.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
Half an hour.
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
Moon is up somewhere up there. Yeah, it's so bright. So dark nights are not so dark actually. So did she actually do the PhD after her retirement, or did she do it right when she was a student? Wow. Wow, that's amazing. To do a PhD when you retired. That's really something. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I don't think that I would have the patience to do a PhD right now. Or even after retirement. Yeah, but if you burn for a topic, then you can do it, yep.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloy.
Kurs setzen.
Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloy.
Alle Maschinen, stopp!
There they are coming in. So, time to go submerged.
Auf
Go
Seerohr.
for periscope depth. Hey, I mean, that's amazing. So she must have been one of these guys who really enjoyed their retirement. I think a lot of people are kind of afraid of their retirement, or if they are not afraid, they are kind of
Wir sind auf Zero-Tiefe.
pretty, I mean,
Steuert.
not
E-Motoren wechseln.
really figuring out what the problems would be. But if you have some profession, something to work for, yeah.
Schraubengeräusch. Peilung 85 Grad.
There it was. Right. Yeah. Okay, now it looks like that I'm even a bit too far south.
Langsame Fahrt zurück.
So if I go a bit backwards, now it's just about putting myself into a decent firing position.
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet. Torpedorohr 2 gewartet. Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
Now it pretty much looks like they're heading straight for me, 80 degrees. Like that. And let me extrapolate that. Yeah, I can't judge the distance yet.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
Alle Maschinen, stopp.
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
Handelsschiff 75 Grad.
So, Mr. Arles, please help the guys at the depth steers so that we don't broach the surface.
Bestätige. Kleine Fahrt zurück.
Ah, yes. So now the question is, what would be the right position to put myself into for firing the torpedoes? Hey. Okay, that doesn't work at the moment. So that's a bug. Now if I say center on the target, it doesn't. $60.
Kleine Fahrt voraus.
Hey, look, it doesn't work. We are losing the target. There he is.
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet. Torpedorohr 2 gewartet.
So now it's 70 degrees, roughly.
Torpedorohr 3 gewartet.
Degrees would be an angle on bow from their point of view of 25. And guesstimating the distance.
Schussunterlagen aktualisieren. Winkel 2,7 links. Entfernung zum Ziel 2,197 Meter. Geschwindigkeit 7 Knoten.
I don't know, my figures are. Would be just 1 mile away. Coming in like that. All right. Now we are closing in for the kill.
Aktualisieren.
1 mile.
Entfernung 1, 7, 8, 9 Meter.
Distance of 1 mile, so they are close, and it looks like I am in a pretty good firing position. $50 degrees. $36. All right, that's reasonable. Now, what about the maintenance status of the torpedoes? I completely forgot about checking that, but yeah, looks all right. So Mr. Schneider was fulfilling his job pretty perfectly fine. Okay, before we now go to the final approach, let me be AFK for 1 minute, and then we are gonna sink that guy, aren't we? Hey, Kaluda, good evening. Nice to have you in. So sorry, I was just AFK for a minute. How are you doing? It's Friday. Actually, here in Germany, we have a day off today. It's the 1st of May. It's what we call Labor Day. And so we already had started the weekend yesterday night. And yeah, but for you, yeah, it's thank God it's Friday, yeah. So now let's make sure that we get that guy. Distance.
Schussunterlagen aktualisieren. Entfernung zum
Angle
Ziel.
40 degrees.
3 Meter.
How would it look like here? And what would be their angle on bow on me? That with these figures 46. Yeah, that looks perfectly fine.
Aktualisieren. Winkel 4, 9, Bug links. Kleine Fahrt voraus.
So I think I would like to get a little bit closer for firing the torpedoes. Hey, außerdem. Yeah, so do you hear me now? Is the ads finished? Yeah, it's great to have you in, and of course for you it's not late night, it's morning, and I'm so glad to have you in. How are you doing? So guys, welcome our friend from Australia. Now 30 degrees, is this all right?
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
$55 looks all right, yeah.
Alle Maschinen, stopp.
$20 degrees, 67. Perfectly fine. Now, let's get the guy down.
Rohr 1 bewässern.
Rohr 1 bewässert.
Los. Rohr 2 bewässern. Los. Rohr 3. Bewässern.
Oh fuck. I did the wrong drought. 7 point. Ah, fuck. Sorry, guys.
Los. Feindlich ins Schiff getroffen.
We got it. Nevertheless. Yeah, nice. All 3 torpedoes did hit, didn't they?
Kurs setzen.
Yeah, to be honest, aus Jim, I don't quite remember. Where do you come from? So you say it's East Coast? Was it,
Torpedo ist auf halbem Weg.
Funkspruch erhalten.
mm,
40 Sekunden.
ah, Queensland, okay. Alright.
Funktelegramm gesendet.
30 Sekunden. 20 Sekunden. 10 Sekunden bis Einschlag. Die Besatzung evakuiert das Schiff.
So I don't quite remember, but I think, have we been talking about that you were from the north, like Perth or something? Sorry, no, Perth is in the west. I mean, like, was it Dundee or something? I just try to remember these towns. Darwin. Yeah, well. But that's not Queensland. Yeah, okay. I'm just checking the map in parallel. So Brisbane would be the largest town in Queensland. I understand. Yeah, you don't have to give any details. I always appreciate this. Yeah, like people would like to keep a certain level of anonymity in the web. And chainsaw? Ah, nice. Just saw your remark. Nice to have you in, chainsaw. How are you doing? Hope you're having a good day. It's Friday, so as I mentioned before, around here in Germany, the 1st of May, it's a public holiday. Yeah, Kaluda, I am going with the Type 7 because this is a long-term campaign that I started almost a year ago, and since then I'm doing this whole playthrough through the war, and so I'm still going with the Type 7, but I hope that sooner or later, when I've finished this second level here of the Battle of the Mediterranean, that I get the boat upgrade points, and then I'm gonna change to the Type 9. That's my plan, actually. Yeah, okay, chainsaw are cold, yep. My wife actually did have a not too bad, but quite some decent cold a week ago. And for me, I'm still lucky. Let's see.
Ein weiterer Tag, eine weitere erfolgreiche Unternehmung. Macht weiter so alle miteinander.
Okay. So we got it. We sank that ship. Nice. Let's get to the surface, won't we?
Anblasen. Aktuelle Tiefe 10 Meter.
Yeah, let's get to the surface and see. Maybe there is some sailors to save. So you did start with the Type 9 then, yeah, okay.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kanoi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Wow, I just took a look at the time. It's just getting so late. But having all of you guys been in the stream, participating in the chat, it would be a pity to just stop, would it? Now man the radio. Yeah, Kaluda, that was the same thought that I had. But, yeah, actually there were a few guys in the stream who I pretty much appreciate as kind of experts, or at least guys who know what they're talking about. And they said that you might have had that submarine already available back then.
Telegramm gesendet.
Alle Maschinen stopp.
Rohr 1 geladen.
Let's go through all the boats. There also will be boats where there are officers on board, which is a bit cynic to only save officers. 4. Five. Mr. Vickers, Mr. Cole. Please get on board. So with this now we actually fulfilled the mission already. And yeah, come on, it's 3 o'clock around here by now. And I did a decent 3-hour stream, so I need to go to bed. Yeah. Gonna have some nice breakfast tomorrow with the family, and I don't want to be just the guy who hangs around at the table being too tired. So, yeah. It's a pity because there is so many people in the stream right now, but yeah, that's the problem. I love to have all of you guys in, particularly from the US, from Canada, and from Australia, which is just great. Aussie Jim, nice to have you. But yeah, as I said, it's getting late. I have to turn in, and I am definitely gonna do one more stream tomorrow night, and it would be a pleasure to have all of you guys in tomorrow. Kaludar, have a good night. Chainsaw, have a good night. Colin, it was a pleasure to have that chat with you that we had. Also, Jim, I'm always so happy to have you from the other side of the world. And yeah, Wolvalu, I guess you're still there, aren't you? So, thanks for joining again. Have a good night. Isley, not quite sure. Maybe you dropped out meanwhile, or maybe you're just engaged into your own gameplay in parallel. So, have a good night as well. Kevi, if you're still there, it's great to have you. Yeah, you just recently joined, and I think you came with Pit, didn't you? Yeah, so great to have you in. And Holiday Punch, not quite sure. You were in the stream pretty at the beginning, but maybe you dropped out meanwhile. So all of you guys have a good night, and looking forward to see you again.